this wonderful Saturday afternoon. Now, I'm in Thailand. It's 10 o'clock with me, so hopefully it's, if you're in the UK, on the GMT timeline, it's 3 o'clock with you. And I'm going to talk about some amazing things. I'm on this time today, same time tomorrow, 2 parts to some amazing revelations. Now, let me just do something while I'm waiting for people to come in. Let me just see if I can sign in here. So here we go. I'm signing in. There we go. That's absolutely great. Let me just see if I can share this with one of my other groups, because I want those guys to see it. Let's just see where we are with this. So my channel, I should be showing live, and I'm actually going to share this. Just bear with me. I'm going to share this. Share it live into the group. Okay, there you go, I've shared it. So thank you for joining me, guys, and I realise that this is a new channel. I also realise that many of you don't know me, and you know, we've got to form a relationship and we've got to get some trust. But let me tell you that I've been working in personal and corporate development for over 40 years. I'm a hypnotist corporately. I do entertainment, but that's not really what I do. I do it for charity, to raise money and to teach people and show people and demonstrate the power of the mind. What I'm more about is empowering people, couples, teams, companies, families, and I work with energy and consciousness. And today I wanted to start a conversation all about how you can change your life and how you can change the world. So let me ask you, are you happy with your life? I always like to talk to you with a brew. If you watch me on my Mr. Mike Garner Facebook page, there's plenty there, and the Mr. Mike Garner YouTube channel, you'll get to know me. And you'll either like me or you won't, but I'm honest and I'll tell you how I see it. And I never say that I'm right, but are you happy with your life? When I got involved in this, I was a martial arts instructor and I taught mixed martial arts for 32 years. I was an AA patrolman by trade. I fixed cars and now I fix people. And I'm very pragmatic, in other words. It's very practical, and I work with some amazing metaphysical magic, but I teach you how to do it, because over 40 years I've learned how to do some stuff and I'm still on a learning curve. I'm still growing. And you know, you never know everything. You absolutely never know everything. Let me just see if I can see your comments here. All live messages are visible. Let me just see if I can sign in. Okay, that's it, cool. So ultimately where we are is we have a life, and the way I'm going to sort of describe it to you is that your life is a story, which is where you get the word history. It's a bit arrogant that it's his story and not her story, but it's the etymology of the male Latin root of the language, history. It's like you've got a manuscript, and a man who used to be authority in the old world used to write a manuscript, and you have a chairman. I mean, now it's a chairperson. The man in the word man, chairman, or policeman, it never really meant man. It just stood for sovereign individual, and that can be a female. So that's about the etymology of the language. And in the etymology of history, it's his story or her story or their story or my story or your story. So how is your story going? How happy are you with your life? And there's different elements to your life, isn't there? There's like your relationships, There's like your financial situation, your housing situation, your job situation, your health situation, loads of situations. But how are those situations, how are those stories going? Is it a horror story? Is it a happy story? And if it's a horror story, what are you going to do about it? And if it's a happy story, what are you going to do about it? Because you might say, well, I'm happy, so I don't need to do anything about it. How about if you were happier? How free do you feel? How unlimited or uninhibited do you feel? Why do I use those words? Because as a psychologist, and I did a psychology degree in 2005, and I was a bit of a mature student, but I had a massive spine injury, and I started studying, and then I did my qualification when my full-time job finished, and that was my life story, that I thought I was going to be in one job, but then that story ended, and the question is what did I do about it? And it's what you do about it that makes the difference between being a victim and a victor. I'll make a general statement here that you might have heard before. You might have heard me say it before if you've followed me for a while. But if you've never listened to me or listened to anybody, or if you haven't picked up on this point, then this is massive. So make a note of this one somewhere. That life, or your life story, which is what I'm talking about today, and we'll develop it tomorrow, is all in your response. I'll say that again. Life, your life, is all in your response. What does that mean? By the way, I'm in Thailand, so if you can hear noises like that, it's lizards. They're called tokay lizards, and they're everywhere. So life is in your response. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to what happens to you. You could be knocked down in a car, or you could be beat up at the bus stop, or the most dreadful illness you could be diagnosed with, or you might be made redundant or bankrupt, or I don't know, left at the altar. I'm trying to think of all the things that could happen to you that would probably be the worst things. And it's not that will define you, it's what you do with that. So if you're beat up, you could become a victim to that and think the world's not safe and never go out again. Or you could go down to a martial arts club, as I did, and learn self-defense and not be a victim to it, and then stand up for yourself and allow that situation to be character building. I ultimately wasn't a fighter, used to get bullied all the time, and then went into martial arts, was the least handy person in the club, and got my black belt in 1985, and then started running my own clubs. First of all in Manchester, then when I moved to Wales, I carried on. So that was a life-changing story for me, but I could have gone one way and become a victim to it, or I could have gone another way and become a victor to it. And it was my response. Now, I've not always responded well to everything, but that's just an example. So thinking about that now, what were the pinnacle stories in your life? What were the life-changing events that you cope with well, or other ones that made you feel like hell? You'll get to know me, I like things that rhyme. So what made you feel well in your life? Maybe a relationship, somebody binned you. That's a Manchester expression, in the bin. Or maybe you binned the other person because you found out something, or you realised that it wasn't what you wanted, and you go through a period of heartache, sadness, loss. Could be that somebody diddle you or fiddle you out of some money. Somebody owes you some money, or someone's disrespected you, or someone's talking behind your back, or your work team aren't very friendly or supportive, or your boss is a bit Machiavellian and coming down on you a bit hard, or you're not happy with your marriage, or you're not happy with your house or your neighbours. Could be anything, couldn't it? Your car's just broke down, the washing machine's broken, you've got a leaky roof, or you haven't got a roof over your head and you're homeless, or you're going to become homeless, or you're not feeling so well. All these things are stories in your life, and it's what you do about it, it's how you respond to them that will dictate the quality of your mental health your emotional balance or not, your physical health, and your state of energy, in other words, your spiritual connection. I'm sure you've all had times in your life where you thought you'll never survive this. But the good thing is that you have. So well done. High five. Because you're watching this now. You've survived it. So you guys are survivors. And you've learned some lessons, hopefully. You either want more of something or less of something. And you've got to stick to your guns. You've got to be determined that you want more good stories and less bad stories. So when people come to me, I change their mindset. I install apps, mental and emotional apps, to help them not just cope with life, but to become winners and survivors. But all these stories in your life, it's not just you that contributes to it, isn't it? Is it? I mean, there's other people in your life that can mess up your plan, that can rain on your parade. I mean, at the moment, the government's doing a really good job at that, isn't it? I mean, the world is doing a really good job at that. Because I came to Thailand with the intention all the time of travelling between Thailand and the UK for work and family and loved ones. And the last 2 years, I've not been able to. So that's changed my story. What's happened to you in the last couple of years? I'm not going to use the words because you get deplatformed, but you know what I'm talking about. So there's that that's gone on. And what else has gone on? And what was going on before that that's probably been going on for years, maybe even decades? Most people stay in jobs that they don't like, or relationships that they don't like, or in situations that they don't like. They settle for far less than they deserve and desire because they're not comfortable with change, or they're scared of change. So in the same way that I said before, this major statement that your life is in your response, it's not what happens to you, because we all have negative situations. It's what you do with it that will define the quality of your life. A second major statement that's worth taking a note of is that the world should come from you and not at you. I'll say it again and then I'll explain it. The world should come from you and not at you. If the world's coming at you, you're reacting. It's like you've got a tennis player on the other side of the court and you're just trying your best to get the ball back. Some you will and some you won't. Some people serve aces and you've got no chance. They go whizzing past opportunities, insults, situations. But some you're able to play the game. Some you play and you win, some you play and you lose, some you've got no chance. Sometimes the person you're playing cheats or lies or breaks the rules, but there you are, you're still in the game. That's reacting to what's coming at you all the time. I would rather, me, and I'll teach you guys, everything's on Mr. GTV, either on YouTube or on the Facebook page, where there's commentary on the Facebook page. The YouTube is just video, obviously. But you can still talk to me on YouTube, but I'll probably ask you for your email address or your messenger connection and we can talk properly there. And if you want to chat, I'm here for that. I will give you my time because I'm here to help. But you should be, first of all, serving all the time. And if you are retrieving, in other words, if you're on the baseline, you really want to move up to the net and start attacking, and you want the world to come from you. You want to live by the law of control in all your stories and not the law of accident. See, a lot of people live by the law of accident. They think, well, if I'm in the right place at the right time or I know the right people, I'll get on. And they sort of go along to get along. I'll say that again, they go along to get along. In other words, they go with the crowd. They go with the popular view, what most people do. They don't want to stand out. Now, I've never been that person, and it's quite often made me unpopular. But that's okay, because I like myself, which is one of my favourite affirmations. I like myself. And that's not arrogant, it's just that I've decided a long time ago, having been a victim for the first third of my life, because I was sensitive and creative, and I wasn't always this big guy able to know this stuff and do this stuff. So when I did learn to know it and do it, I changed my life around. I changed my life, and the world started to come from me, not at me. And you can't control it all the time, but you don't want to be reacting, ducking and diving, and having to change to be with that person and behave the way that pleases them, and then be different with that person and behave the way that pleases them, because then you've got to be 20, 30 people, depending on how many people you know. I mean, if you're one person at work and then a different person with your mates down the pub, or, you know, at the yoga club, or the spiritual group, or the church, or the political debate group, or the golf course, or down the beach, or whatever you do, if you're a biker, are you the same person in all those roles, or do you change? Do you talk the same to your kids as you do to your mates in the pub? Have you got the same vocabulary? If you were filmed somewhere, would you be comfortable if that film was shown everywhere? Would you like your kids to know how you behave down the pub, or in the bars, or in the disco, or when you're out with your mates, or at work? I was a single dad, and my kids, because I was a single dad, saw me at work, saw me teaching martial arts, because that's the time of life that I was doing that. So they saw me with adults, and I used to get people back to my house, and we'd have pizza and chips nights, because I am watching the boxing, because I couldn't go out, because I had 2 kids at home, so my social life had to come in. So I was the same with my mates, my work mates, my martial arts mates, my spiritual mates, my neighbours, whoever knew me, my musical mates, because I play the guitar and keyboards. I was the same guy, and my kids saw it all. They saw me, warts and all, as they say. They saw my strengths, my weaknesses. And I decided just to be real, and they'd learned to be confident around adults and around everybody. And they learned to, well, they became fantastic adults now with their own lives and families. So their life is coming from them, not at them. My life is coming from me and not at me. So is your life coming from you and not at you? In other words, are you acting in the way that you want to be? Proud, confident? Do you like yourself? Have you got loads of energy? What's your health like? And are you getting what you deserve and desire? Have you got some goals? Have you set some goals? Because this is your life story. It's your life experience. And let me just tell you that your life experience is not the same as your life. That's massive as well. I'm going to repeat that. Your life experience is not the same as your life. Cheers. Your life experience is the way you experience, as the experiencer, the physical experiences in your life. In other words, if you attach to what's going on and take it personally, you're going to be a victim most of the time. You're going to be reacting. If you think that your life is real and that this physical universe is real, in other words, if you think that's real and you think that's real and you think I'm real and the device that you're watching this on is real, this is where it gets really woo-woo now. Stay with me. Then as life goes through a series of ups and downs, lefts and rights, yeses and nos, light and dark experiences, you'll be reacting. And that's life, and most people live that life. That if things are all right in the outer world, if things are all right on the outside, then they're sort of okay on the inside. And what they try and do is they try and fix what's going on the outside to make them feel good on the inside. So they've had an argument, or somebody's been argumentative, they try and sort it out with the person on the outside to make them feel good on the inside. Is that you? And that That was me, and it still can be me. I can still make that mistake, even though I know this stuff, even though I know better than to do that. The metaphor of that is, it's rather like looking in a mirror and seeing yourself in a suit or a shirt or a blouse and a skirt and not liking what you're seeing. It doesn't fit, or it's got creases, or you notice a stain. And you try and change it by changing the image in the mirror. You can't, can you? So if you've got a blue t-shirt on and you think this doesn't match anything, to get the reflection to look right when it doesn't look right with the blue t-shirt, you can't change anything in the mirror, can you? You've got to go to the wardrobe, whip off the blue t-shirt and put the white one on, or the pink one on, or the black one on, or the blue one on. And when you change it on yourself and then you stand in front of the mirror, the reflection will be different. You can't change it in the mirror. You can only change it in yourself, then the reflection changes. The image in the mirror changes. Do you sort of get that? Most of my clients and students have learnt that they're never going to change a problem that they feel inside, or think about inside, and experience inside, by changing the mirror, and the mirror is the world. If you want to change your life, the work's got to be inner work. You'll never change it talking to anybody else. You can't. Nobody's going to make you happy, and nobody can make you sad, and nobody can make you jealous, and nobody can upset you, and nobody can frighten you. You give them permission to by reacting in a fearful, upset, distressed, unhappy way. Do you think, and I'm not being arrogant, but I'm just giving you something to think about, do you think that the people who upset you would upset me? Do you think their tactics, their guilt trips, their aggression would work on me? Trust me, it wouldn't. And that's not because I'm better than you, it's just that I've learnt some stuff. I've learnt not to react. I've learnt to distance myself from being emotionally vulnerable from anything that anybody can do. And at the end of the day, we hand over our power far too easily by trusting people with our states of mind and with our emotional states. We tell them far too much, and then quite often they use it against us. The reason our enemies know so much about us is because we told them, or we told our friends who reveal themselves as gossipers. So I keep my truths very close to my chest. I talk to like-minded people who I trust, who've earned my trust and respect. So seeing the world as a mirror means that you do the inner work, and when you do the inner work, the outer world changes. So by changing yourself, you change the world. A frightened person sees a fearful world. An angry person sees an aggressive world. A scared person sees a scary world, but a happy person sees a wonderful world. And if you're a person who believes that there's lots of opportunity for you, then you're absolutely right, and you'll see and experience and benefit from lots of opportunities. But if you think that you're stupid, or if you think that there's nothing there for you, people don't like you, and you're a waste of space, then you won't see those opportunities, even though they're in your face. And even if the opportunity came, you'd blow it, you'd self-sabotage. And a lot of my clients and students self-sabotage because they're running stories in the mind that says, I'm not clever enough, I'm not strong enough, I'm not confident enough, I'm the wrong age, I'm the wrong height, I'm the wrong sex, I'm in the wrong place. I can't do this. I can't do this. And when you're saying I can't, doors close, opportunities close. You don't even see them if they're there. And the word I can't isn't just a thought in your head, it vibrates out. It creates the world that you see. The I can't radiates out, and people pick that up as lack and loss and limitation. And you would be absolutely a brilliant victim for some narcissist who is a guilt thrower, and you'll catch it and they will control you, they'll own you. And the government's doing that at the moment. Remembering the etymology of government is to govern your mentality. And the way that you change your life, if you haven't already realised it from what I've said so far, is that you govern your own mentality. In other words, you change the stories. And you not only change the stories, you run better stories. Because alongside your repertoire of horrors, repertoire of horrors, I like that. Alongside your repertoire of horrors, all the horror stories that you tell, and people are really good at that, you've also got some success stories, haven't you? Even if it's only one. There's somebody that you've helped and has loved you for it. People say to me, you've got a face that only your mother could love. Somebody's loved you in your life, or you've loved yourself, or you've picked yourself up from your situation, dusted yourself down and got on with it. Even if you're old enough to have passed your cycling proficiency test in primary school, you did it. Woohoo! Pick yourself up on that, or you swum your length, or you won the egg and spoon race. And then later on in life, maybe you did even more profound things in your adolescent years or your career, or you've achieved something, haven't you? I really recommend that you create a menu of those stories and define yourself by those, because how often do you go down the pub or the coffee shop, or you meet with your mates somewhere, and all you get is doom and gloom and negativity? I used to go out with people and, you know, he'd be moaning about his missus, and he'd be moaning about the weather at the golf club, and he's moaning about something about the football, and he's moaning about something in government. And then they say, "And how are you, Mike?" I go, "I feel fantastic." And they go, "Here you go, positive, Mike." Well, no, I mean, I've got lots of shit in my life, but the trick is that you put an F in shit, S-H-I-T, and you shift, S-H-I-F-T. And if you're determined that the world comes from you and not at you, I'm not going to talk about the shitty things in my life, the things that went wrong. I'm not going to talk about the doom, the gloom, the failure, the last, the lot, the limitation, the sadness. Yes, those things happen around me and to me, but I witness them and I detach from them to the best of my ability. I get it wrong, but I'm getting better. I'm nothing like the man I was 40 years ago, and I'm nothing like the man I was 40 days ago. I'm always evolving, falling forward. So I'm passionate about certain subjects, and what's going on in the world has probably been one of my biggest projects, other than waking people up to the reality of existence, which is that the world out there is created by you in here. That the happier and more powerful that I am, the more happy experiences and opportunities come my way, because that radiates from me, because the world comes from me, not at me. And if I get it wrong and the world will start coming at me, I've got some techniques that I use to get my power back. Well, first of all, I get my balance back, then I get my power back. And if you want to know what those techniques are, you want to look at the Mr. GTV Facebook channel, or just scroll down to some of the videos earlier, and I've got, for free on Mr. GTV, YouTube and Facebook, I've got mindfulness exercises through colour therapy and meditation, energy exercises, healing exercises, and I'm talking about it all the time. And if you want to talk to me, you can just message me anywhere on Facebook, or I'm on TikTok, Vimeo, Instagram, all that sort of stuff, or email me at mike@mrmikegarner.com, because I'm going to talk about things in general, not specifics. So if you've got an individual situation that you want to personally talk about, and I'll talk to you for free, then just contact me and we'll do that. So how are your stories going? Is the world coming at you, or is the world coming from you? Because we've got this world situation at the moment, which is absolutely massive. And I've already said that the government, the etymology, is to govern your mentality. So let me say this, having said that. Somebody's just putting something on the screen there. All the stuff that's going on at the moment, whether it's race, culture, finances, in other words, the banking problem and the prices going up, to the racial problem and all the things that they are expanding around that, to the cultural problem, if you like, the Muslim stuff, or the China stuff, or the French stuff, or the Brexit stuff, the general political scene with Boris Johnson and all that drama. And then you've got the Epstein stuff, and then you've got the stuff going on at the moment in the Ukraine, and then we've had sonic booms in America, and floods in Brazil, mudslides. I mean, disasters. Some of them geo-manufactured, that's another subject. Meteorological manipulation. Some of it's financial manipulation. Powers that be, which we'll talk about in session 2. The powers that be manipulating the situations, like they crashed the monetary system in Cyprus and it became bankrupt. Look at what's happening to the pound. Look at the cryptocurrency situation. They made everybody bankrupt. They made a lot of people that went out of business. They gave people furlough. Then they reduced it. And we've now got so much poverty and so many food banks in Europe. I'm in Thailand. They haven't opened the borders properly. Tourists can't come in and out. So the hotels are empty. The beach businesses are finished. And there's no furlough here. There's no national health here. There's no pension schemes here in Thailand. So there's no caring government here. And I would suggest that there's no caring government anywhere, because the government, the etymology, the way society is set up, is to govern your mentality. So that means that you'll feel like those things are coming at you. And it changes your story. This situation at the moment, which I won't use the words because you get deplatformed, but you know what I'm talking about, has changed every plan that I've had for the last 2 years. I haven't seen my kids or grandkids and loved ones for 2 years. Now that doesn't make me happy. But I'm not going to spit my dummy out and lose my peace of mind either, to the best of my ability. I'm not going to allow it to go the way it goes, which is from psychology, your mindset, doing your head in, intellectual violence, getting upset, to physiology, which is upset emotions because of shit happening and me reacting to it immaturely, unhelpfully for myself, self-sabotaging everything in my life by spitting my dummy out because I'm not getting what I want. And then it changes your biology. It goes from psychology to physiology to biology. It literally can make you sick to death. And people have committed suicide because of this world situation and other situations in the world or within their personal lives, which is the ultimate catastrophic response to flight, to fear, to losing control. When you lose control and you've got no fear, you wouldn't want to top yourself. Only out of complete despair do you get to the point where you think, I can't cope with this. Let me tell you, you can cope with everything if you know how to. I help people overcome all these obstacles so that they can have far more success in life and business and better health and happiness. And as I say, I live in the same world as you, but my life experience is different because I'm running different apps, I'm running different programs. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow, how you can run different apps. There's a wonderful saying which is, when you change the way you look at something, the things that you look at change. When you change the way you look at something, the thing that you're looking at changes. And that only happens when the world comes from you. In other words, if you are easily scared but you get your confidence, you'll look through confident eyes and you'll see a world of fun and opportunity. Despite any of the world stories, those can still be running. I've spoke to many elderly person and my parents and my grandparents who lived through the First and Second World War, and apparently public spirits were high, morale and community spirit was abundant. They didn't like being bombed in the Blitz, and they certainly didn't want to be taken over by the enemy, if you like, and they didn't want to suffer any personal losses, family losses. That was running. But there was a great feeling of community and participation. Unfortunately, with what's going on in the world at the moment, the government back in 1945, 1950 decided to boost the morale of the community. Now, all you're getting through television, from the politicians on television is fear. Everything is horrendous. I posted today actually, I was driving my car and I was listening to the news on Hua Hin FM, where I live in Hua Hin in Thailand, and it was the BBC World Service. And it was just fear, doom, doom, doom. Chaos, 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 crisis, crisis, crisis. No good news at all. And you can watch any news program on any channel and it's the same until you get on YouTube or another platform where there's some people talking the truth, having a laugh. Even the comedians, now are being censored and deleted on a lot of channels. You're not allowed to laugh. You might offend somebody. What do you think about that? That changes your life experience where you can't say anything. A lot of people I know don't actually want to go out anymore now. They've been locked in for so long, they've got comfortable with that, which isn't a bad thing that you like your own company, but we are gregarious as human beings. We're supposed to care and share. We need community to create a unity. And as I say, in First and Second World War, all manufactured by the government to reduce population and to get more control for business. And the casualties were not them, but they benefited from it. Understand that. It's not a caring government. Talk about that tomorrow. But if you know that, you know how to respond to that. So just understand that the world that you see isn't the world you think it is. I'll be explaining that tomorrow, and I'll explain what you probably think it is and what it actually is and what you do with it. And it's all common sense when you hear it, and I'm not saying I'm clever, I've just learnt this over 40 years. And I think I'm right, so I'm just offering it for your consideration. But today I want to talk about almost like what happens and how you change your life and how you change your experience as the experiencer or the witnesser, and you sort of step back and you view it as if it's a screen. If you were in a James Bond film or went to see, I don't know, the latest Matrix film, which I saw the other night, brilliant, love it, or Bridget Jones or whatever it is that you like, and you're in the cinema seat and you're watching the film, you could be in the car chase or in the comedy laughing your head off, and you're fully absorbed in the motion picture, the illusion. You're drawn into it. You're there with your popcorn and your Coke or whatever you do. In my case, M&Ms, peanut ones, not chocolate ones. And you can lose yourself in the film. Well, a lot of people lose themselves in the world. They believe in the stories that they're being told. But it was Shakespeare that says that we're all actors on a stage, and the world's a stage. And if you think about it in that way, that you're just watching a motion picture, there's two things that you can do. You can wake up in the dream, you can wake up in the cinema, and I'm using this as a metaphor in your life, and see it for what it is, that it's nothing to do with you, that it's over there, and you can carry on enjoying your ice cream or your M&Ms or whatever it is that you're drinking. Or you can go back and re-engage with the horror story and frighten yourself, or the adventure and excite yourself, or the love story and upset yourself. I prefer to remember that I'm the witness, the experiencer, step back from it and just view it and detach. Just view it and disconnect. You can actually turn the picture off. You can definitely do that with the television. I'm pointing over there because that's where my television is, television. And I'm very selective what I watch. Because I know that a TV programme, here's a nugget of wisdom, a TV programme is a programme. It's being produced and directed and transmitted to me to programme me. You look at all the themes in the modern soaps. I mean, I go back to, UK when I used to watch with my kids Coronation Street and Crossroads and Emmerdale and EastEnders, and there's loads, isn't there, on all these reality things that are made to be reality, but they're all scripted. You do realise that when you watch these things, what's Something Wives, I don't know, or Loose Women on breakfast or midday TV, which is all chewing gum for the mind. You realise it's all scripted, don't you? That they've been told what to say. Well, I used to like the press preview on Sky, where they come up and look at the papers every day, and you get two people, and it's supposed to be like, oh, we've got somebody from the Daily Mail and we've got somebody from, I don't know, the Guardian, or some editor from this and some, I don't know, journalist from this. And ultimately, you've got the interviewer who's not interviewing anymore, putting an opinion across with no qualifications to do that. These TV presenters are like hypnotists. Your television is like the biggest hypnotist in the room. And you've got two opposing sides, but when you listen to it, you find out that they're both pretty much saying the same thing. Exactly the same as Labour and Conservative, or the Lib Dems and the Scottish National Party. Whoever it is, they're all pretty much saying the same thing. They're all there in government to govern you, control you, so that certain parts of society benefit and other parts don't. And it's usually 5% that benefit and 95% don't. That the 5%, right at the top of society, we'll talk about that tomorrow, they earn more than the 95% put together. They're the ones with the private jets, with the chauffeurs that have 4 or 5 houses, 4 or 5 businesses. They sit on the board of directors of 4 or 5 companies. They've got more money than you and I will ever dream of, and actually more than I need, probably more than you need. And those are the ones governing you in government, or if they're not elected government, they are shadow government, or in government think tanks or a consultants, and we'll talk about that tomorrow as well. The Illuminati, secret societies, and the shadow government. But if you allow them to govern you because you believe that you're in the film and you're being programmed on television through the programs, mental programming, understanding that the government and the BBC, they all have behavioural insight teams, that pretty much they're all reading the same narrative, coming out with the same dialogue, that there's probably only 2 or 3 news agencies for every country around the world, and they're all saying the same thing. And depending who funds them, and we'll talk about that tomorrow, about the World Economic Forum, about Davos, about the Bilderbergs, about the Trilateral Commission, about NATO, about a lot of world charities, talk about all that tomorrow. But the fact is that if you accept that programming, that changes your life and your life experience. Now, I can watch the TV, but I detach from the TV. You see, you can watch the TV and say you like Mr. Bean or Laurel Hardy or Rowan, anybody that you like. Now, some people think Mr. Bean is brilliant, a super sort of like mime artist clown, and some people think he's just stupid. Now, that's nothing to do with Mr. Bean, is it? That's to do with your response to Mr. Bean. You know, sometimes people love slapstick and they'll laugh their head off, and other people just think that's stupid. And other people like really intellectual, academic, dry humour or subtle humour or blue humour, and that might not be your thing. So it's a decision what you laugh at, but it's also, as I said right at the very beginning, a decision what you cry about, and a decision what makes you angry and what makes you scared and run away. It's a decision. It's a choice. It's based on your programming. And all the time, the world coming at you is trying to change your programming, influence your programming. It's trying to tell me that this H&M shirt, which I really like, is better than one I could get down the market for £2 in Thailand, because this one cost a bit more because it came from H&M, and we buy into these brands. And granted, so do I. I mean, I've got a nice phone here, you know, and you don't want a crappy phone. But what's happening all the time is we're being sold, in other words, we're being told what to wear, how to behave, how not to behave, what not to wear, what to say, how to say it. We're being influenced all the time by programs and what's called social hypnosis. The world's coming at us. Now, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about who's throwing it at you and what the agenda is, the language to watch for, and the way to change it. Because I've already said that if you're a happy person, you see a more joyous world. If you're a confident person, you see more confident people, more confident opportunities, more happy opportunities. Your life becomes high energy, not low energy. I'll be talking about energy tomorrow as well. But you as the experiencer have got a choice, like you have whether or not you think Mr. Bean's funny or not, or whether you're going to get upset when somebody insults you, or whether or not you're going to become assertive or become neutral. We always have a choice, but we don't realise that because we've not been taught this at school. We've not been taught this at college or, you know, work-related education. You're not taught it in church. Because church and state and education and health authorities, all these authorities, education authorities, health authorities, government authorities, they're all running the same agenda, which is to keep you in your place. Because it's not in the government's interest to have an intelligent population, because it's harder for them to govern your mentality. So what they do is they feed you scraps, like I say, scraps and craps, stuff on television to program you, keep you in your place, low energy foods. They guide you into trends through social media and also just legislation and mandates to do certain things. And in the past, you used to have reasonable debate. You know, there was a Conservative and a Labour Party, and you could see the difference on the back benches, and the Liberals were somewhere in the middle. But now they're all the same. I love the expression left wing, right wing, same bird. It's all the governments. Whoever you get in, whether it's whatever party you get in, it's still the government running you. And in session 2, I'm going to tell you how to change that, because if the government's running you and your job's running you, or your family's running you, or your partner, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whoever it is that's controlling you, if you're under the thumb and reacting and you're a victim and you're second best in your family, or quite often last, tomorrow we're going to be talking about who's doing it, why they're doing it, and how you can change that. Because that's your life, but your experience of it can be different. See, a film's just a film, a comedian's just a comedian. A punch in the face is just a punch in the face. Or an insult is just an insult. It's what you do with it. So ask yourself before you join me tomorrow at 3 on Mr. GTV YouTube, are you a victim or are you a victor? Are you learning from your mistakes and falling forward? Is the world coming at you or is it coming from you? And are you happy with all aspects of your life, or are you settling? Are you settling? And do you understand why at the moment the world is shit? Do you understand who's behind it, where it's going, and what they're trying to achieve? Or maybe you think that's a conspiracy. But most of the conspiracies that people accused me of talking about 2 years ago have all come true, and I'm not the only person, and I'm not being arrogant with that. It's just that I witness the world and I can see through the bullshit, because they're using social hypnosis to manipulate the population to do a certain thing and think a certain way and give them the illusion that they're in control. Well, you must have realised by now that you're not, because you've been told what to do and you've probably done it. You've probably worn the things that you were told to wear, have the things that you were told to have, and do the things that you were told to do. And I understand that being a good citizen, you do that, or a kind person, you do that. And I've talked before, and just look at my YouTube videos where you can do things right, but you're not doing the right things. You can do things right, but you're not doing the right things. And if the world's coming at you, you're not doing the right things because you're not thinking the right things. And if your health isn't very good, or your experience of health, so you could be blind or deaf or unable to walk, or you might feel awful because of an organ deficiency, or whatever it is that's going on for you. Might have some mental health challenges or some emotional challenges, or it might be more practical than that. You might have financial challenges or work challenges. But that's not who you are. That's on the film. Remember that you're sat in the cinema. If you can step back and look at that, then that puts you in control, because you can change your mind. The person sat in the seat in the cinema can change the channel. Don't believe that you're the character on the screen. The character on the screen is the personality. But the person sat in the seat is you, and you're perfect. You're unlimited. And if you can learn to control your mind and change your responses with new thinking, as I say, those new thoughts will become new positive feelings, and you'll have new positive health. Psychology, physiology, biology. And it's as simple as that. It's simple, but it's not easy. It might take 20, 30 years to master your mind and become in control of yourself. But as you move towards it, it's one hell of a journey, and your opportunities will come flowing through as you take control of your life experience. But you can't change it in the mirror. You can't change it on the screen. You can only change it within. And you are super powerful. And you're not being taught you're super powerful at school, at church. Even at church, you can't talk to God, whatever God is. You've got to go through a vicar or a priest. They're not even allowing you direct access to the power, to the knowledge, to the wisdom. That's another conversation. And you go to work, and at weekend, which is now Saturday, Sunday weekend, clues in the language, etymology, you feel weakened. You feel weakened at weekend. How would you like to feel strong at weekend? How would you like to feel in control at work, at home, on the golf course, doing your hobbies, walking the dog, running, in your hospital bed if that's where you are? How would you like to take control of that story, step back and see it for what it is as the experiencer, and take control of the direction of the story? And when you change the story on the inside, the story on the outside changes. The wars will still be there, the government will still be messing things up. There might be a financial crash, there might be even more lockdowns or whatever there is. But the way you respond to it, you'll have control over. You'll be sovereign, ruler, and not subject. You'll be victor and not victim. And I'll be talking about this tomorrow. Now, I don't know how many people are watching, but if you've been watching, I think there's 2 of you. Thank you for honouring me. Hope you've enjoyed it. Put your questions in the questions if there's a facility to do that on YouTube. I'm a new YouTuber. Or you can come on to the Mr. GTV, literally MRGTV. Mr. GTV. Find Mr. GTV or find me, Mr. Mike Garner, on Facebook, or Michael Garner, that's my real name. Mr. Mike Garner's my brand. Or you can email me at mike@mrmikegarner.com. The conversations can take place on the Facebook page or in the YouTube. And if you've got something personal that you want to talk about, trust me, I'm here and I'll talk to you because I'm here to help. I've got this retreat in Thailand. I'm coming back to the UK, and my whole life, since my life changed at that disaster that happened to me, but I decided to change my decision. In other words, to step back and view it on the cinema screen and to maturely, positively, constructively get well again and reinvent myself, which you can, and I help people do that. If you want to get to that point, then you want to join me tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon at UK time. Talk to me, Mr. G, at 3 on the same channel. And if you like this, comment, talk to me, share it. God bless, take care, be powerful, enjoy your mind. I could talk all night, but I just want to soundbite it to give you an introduction, and you're going to hear a lot more from me. God bless you all, take care.